Reluctant Entrepreneur Tarot. I'm Diana Ideus, Master Certified Coach, and this video series takes you behind the scenes. This particular video is card 15, which is Doubt. So Doubt is actually the first card that was designed in the Reluctant Entrepreneur Tarot deck. I knew that I wanted to pair doubt as a concept and the other concepts with tarot. I had an outline, but I didn't have the visuals for them. And before I wrote the descriptions and crafted the questions for the deck, I wanted to make sure that I had the visuals because I knew the visuals would evoke a different sense of meaning. And not being an artist or an illustrator myself, went to images to look at, but also loving collage, went to images to look at what images can we put together to evoke the meaning of the Reluctant Entrepreneur Tarot deck, and then also of being able to speak to and nod to those meanings in the major arcana of tarot. So this is the image that arrested me and really spoke to me. The idea of, a lot of people associate black cats with bad luck. If you think about kind of a black cat crossing your path, in the Navajo tradition, if a coyote crosses your path, you're supposed to go the other way. You're not supposed to cross the path of the trickster. So the idea of kind of thou shall not pass and having the guardian here, you have the building and the light and the shining light behind it. So my assumption in looking at this image, which may not be what's coming up for you, and I think that's the beauty of imagery, is that it evokes different things for different people. But the idea is that it's arresting, you stop. It's not necessarily kind of the pup that's welcoming you home. I also think what's interesting is as I look at this image, it's more obvious to me. The cat has kind of a white marking over its eye and then also on its underbelly. And those were not things I realized actually until we were in final edits of the deck. I was just associating with the black cat. So as you also think about kind of the scars we carry, what's on our underbelly. So this really spoke to me. And I said, well, what if we took this gate and put it on top of this cat? And I do not have those visual Photoshop editing skills, but thankfully the amazing Jason Spector does. And so as we were getting started to try to put the images together, I asked Jason, can you take this cat and this gate and can we see what it looks like? And thankfully, Jason Spector, everyone, we have the doubt card. And so based on the filtering and the coloring he put on this and the way that he highlighted, so you see both the cat and the gate, you have the doubt card. And then this card set the tone for the entire deck, all of which, except for a few exceptions, are two images layered on top of each other, just like this cat and this gate for the doubt card. So as we think about doubt as a reluctant entrepreneurial concept, doubt is really something that is holding us back, whether that's self-doubt. I don't know if I can do this. Am I a fraud? Is this possible? Who am I to start a business? Who am I to think that I can make money at this? Who am I to hit the market? Or if it's the doubts of others, how you can't make money at that, or who are you to be selling that, or you're not qualified. So doubt is so pervasive. When you think about the devil card, there's in tarot, there's a kind of insidiousness of the card. So it's that undercurrent, the unseen. So the challenge about doubts is limiting beliefs often feel like the truth. And so, it can be very easy to just feel like, oh no, it actually isn't possible for me to be an entrepreneur, or it isn't possible for me to give up this vice, or it isn't possible for me to kind of achieve that dream. So in line with that, we have the quote associated with doubt: doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. So in the spirit of arresting, or the spirit of the gates that maybe even lock from the inside, you may think the gate locks on the outside, but it might actually, the keys and the locking mechanisms might be on the inside. Really looking at and examining what's happening with doubts and what we believe we're capable of, and then what others believe we're capable of, and how much of that kind of behind the scenes narrative, maybe not behind the scenes, but how much that narrative is really actually impacting our behaviors and maybe stopping us from going through gates we want to go through or going through doorways we want to go through. So doubt is associated with the devil in the major arcana. And so this is obviously a very dark card, but one of the things to note about this card is the idea is that the chains around the neck of the people in the forefront of the card is that those chains could actually be removed. So there's a sense of complacency that comes with kind of addiction or vice. The devil's not a kind of monster that stops us in our path, so to speak, but it's something that's kind of behind the scenes, almost that whisper in the ear or a voice that you may think is your own. So the devil is I mean, it is a dark card. It's a challenging card, but the idea here is that it's not necessarily something bad happening to us. It's something that we've ingrained. So I think from a doubt perspective, this is really something to examine. What doubts do you have about yourself and your business that just feel like the truth? And whether that's someone else's voices or your own. So I highly recommend WTF is Tarot, Baccara Winter. Love her voice. Her devil card is also amazing. And the quote here for the devil, there's no quick fix, no neat extraction for the devil. When it leaves us, it's under fire. The devil unearthed these wounds for us so that they may be then seared away by the tower. And honestly, it's probably going to be a hot mess. So the devil is followed by the tower. This is actually what we call the big three in the major arcana. So the cards are death or closure in the case of reluctant entrepreneur. Doubt comes in with the devil. And then as Baccara Winter references, the tower, which in reluctant entrepreneur is failure. So this hits about the kind of midpoint, a little after the midpoint of the major arcana. So if you think about entrepreneur being card 0, and then it going from cards 1 to 21, starting at card 13, things start to get darker and they start to get rougher. So, but this is part of the journey. So it can be devastating to think about closure or death. What must die so something else can be reborn? To think about doubt, how might our doubts or our vices or the things that maybe aren't so good for us, but we feel like might be indulgences or keep us safe, how might those things be holding us back? And the idea of failure is, if your foundations are not solid, that thing's coming down. So this is a harder season of the tarot major arcana. This is obviously, as you can tell, even if you are not familiar with tarot, hitting with closure, doubt, and failure. This is a pretty intense period. I think one of the advantages, though, of equating the reluctant entrepreneur journey or wherever you are on your journey to the major arcana or the hero's journey is that then it doesn't become something that stops you. It just becomes a part of it. So when you hit closure and have to kind of close doors you weren't planning on closing, when you realize that your behaviors maybe aren't serving you, or you realize that your foundations are falling down and maybe things are falling apart in a way that you didn't anticipate, it doesn't mean the journey is over. So thankfully in the big three, and all of these cards will have their own video, but thankfully in the big three, we get a couple spots of light. So temperance pops in with balance, and you have that kind of divine intervention, which you can see with that sparkle, just even on the balance on the pottery wheel. And then when you make it through the big three, there's the star or self-care. There's a point where, that darkness starts to get a little bit brighter. So that's a little bit about the kind of progression that surrounds doubt and the devil. But it can be a hard chapter and a hard season. But at the same time, if you know that may be coming and choose to do it anyway, and think about from a reluctant entrepreneur perspective, how do you mitigate those risks? How do you make sure that you're addressing those issues? That doesn't have to be what stops you. Your journey doesn't have to end here. So as we look more at doubt, questions to consider: how are your doubts serving you or keeping you safe? What evidence supports or opposes your doubts? What do you need to be able to make peace with your journey if you decide to stop here? And what doubt or devil are you being asked to face? So these are important questions to ask, whether it's on the journey itself or whether you're considering the reluctant entrepreneur journey, and just to know that it's a challenging card. The devil card in tarot is not a card I've ever drawn, but I have drawn doubt and I have experienced doubt And it can be a rough one, but the idea is if those things are examined and addressed, if you think about the kind of chain around the neck, you can take those off. Those are looser than you realize. So a lot of what's integrated in tarot is looking at darkness, facing darkness, and then also looking at how do we be empowered and learn from those moments. So if you want to lean in and listen more, Michael Tucker, PCC, comes on and talks about his own doubts and facing, am I a fraud? Who am I to charge this? And just really shares his inspiring entrepreneurial journey. And the song associated with this is Chris Stapleton, Devil Always Made Me Think Twice. So we got the devil and the doubt even in that title. The song kicks off with his vices, even says, but you're just the kind of trouble I crave. Jesus tried to steer me in the right direction, but the devil always made me think twice. He even talks about death, which I associate death and kind of failure. Son, you're a little too late. There's almost even a reference to the big three. So take a listen to that song, Chris Stapleton, amazing song, and think about, the doubt, the devil combination. Check us out, reluctantentrepreneur.com. There's more videos. You can read the description of both doubt and the devil, the questions to consider that we talked about today, listen to the podcast episode. And then if you would like to buy, whether it's the deck itself or coaching sessions or other products, please support us. Hope that you enjoyed this behind the scenes video and look forward to catching you for the next one.